Okay, so today's message that I received August 13th in the morning is called Critical Event, Glorious Day, and Med Beds. And today that I'm posting this will be August 15th, 2024. You asked about the med beds. The med beds are going to become commonplace and available to all. The technology is from me, and the materials were made by me. The plan and design I gave to those that I created to make these types of things. The med beds are going to be available to all very soon.
I'll take it a piece at a time because these subjects can be very um, information filled and lengthy. So I'm going to do my best, folks. Give me a little rope here to be, I'll be as succinct as I can. But if I don't explain some of the information, it will get lost in translation. So I'm going to share, since you allowed me to share the screen, I'm going to start with this and talk about, because I think picture speaks 1,000 words, as they say. So this is the first one. So med beds have been around since the 1950s that we know of militarily. They've been suppressed from the public for a long time. In their essence, they are Tesla technology, light frequency therapy. President Trump talked about it in his first term with Regeneron and HCQ and other things. And he talked about alternative health solutions. And that was kind of a very sort of tacit move to the med beds. We do have a case study of somebody who actually got in one in 2022. I have to keep their name obviously private, but they go by the code of the Marine. This gentleman served in Korea and Vietnam, a couple tours of duty, and then served under the Department of Defense for 5 different presidents. He retired just prior to President Trump coming in at the end of 2016. And so a couple of years ago, he got the nod from somebody at Walter Reed in Virginia that they would allow him to come in. If you know anything about Marines, their motto, Semper Fi, always faithful. He gave up his spot to a fellow military Marine friend who had stage 4 pancreatic cancer. In the old medical term in the world, that is a death bomb, a death nail. So his friend came all the way from California, got in a med bed. He had a 200% white and red blood T cell count increase, and it reversed the clock back 30 years. This gentleman is now walking with his wife in a park that they haven't been in almost, at that time, a decade. So it's a case study that they do exist. It's not a figment of imagination. We think because we can't see things that that's all there is to be seen, but you ladies know that not everything we think we see is there. It's a lot of it's behind the curtain, and it comes out at the time. Now, yes, I know everybody's going to say, yeah, it should have happened years ago and we're losing people. I get that. I don't have a seat at the table. I'm not in control of those things. Okay, folks, I've lost people too, but they will come out at whatever time is felt is appropriate. Typically, they have been used for military, like I said, children who have been in the sex trafficking and pedophilia world that have been rescued from all over the world that have traumas, helps them to recover so they can have some normalcy of life. Now, the picture I'm showing you, there are many different iterations or types of med beds. This is a prototype of one of the med beds that was sent to me a year and a half ago. The idea of this is it's supposed to be a mock med bed that you would have potentially in your house. You can see the onboard computer screen, and it looks to me much like an open coconut with it's sort of an open MRI, if you will. None of us like getting an MRIs, but some of us have been in there, but this gives you a lot more comfort so you don't feel claustrophobic. There are some other ones, the ones that I think, I don't know, I've not been there, but what I've been told by said people is that the ones that they have seen inside of Walter Reed look like very large, wide, and deep glass enclosed cases that have anti-claustrophobic material so you don't feel like you're trapped. They're very wide and deep so you got plenty of space and width. And they're antimicrobial. So because of light and frequency, they're constantly basically disinfecting themselves. So this is just to give people a one overall example of what one of the med beds may look like. Okay. So I'm going to turn to this I don't know if you can see this. Let me see if I might have to stop sharing and go back in. So just bear with me, folks. This was sent to me by my friend Kathy, who lives in Owensboro, Kentucky. This was sent on Monday. This, as you can see, it's not a made up image. It's a real place. You can see the street signs. They're doing something called Health Force Kentucky. Now, my friend Kathy has worked in the medical field for some time. She's worked in a elder nursing care facility and some auxiliary hospitals. So she has some familiarity with how they have worked their procedures, and she's not for the traditional sort of barbaric medical techniques that have been used up to this point. The point of this, though, is to show people that they have something called Health Force Kentucky. So they're doing these mobile units. What she believes is happening is that they're starting to slowly acclimate the public to alternative solutions in medicine. You'll notice I do a weekly wrap up, so you both know of sort of the geopolitical, financial news events, some of the passings of notable people as a changing of the guard. And we're seeing an uptick in closures of big pharmacia like CVS, Walgreens, Rite Aid. Rite Aid last week, if you don't know, closed all locations within Michigan and Ohio. Ask anybody that's there, they will tell you that. So they're doing this very systematic and slow rollout to phase it in, because if you just rip the Band-Aid off, you're going to create a cognitive dissonance, the likes of which would be very unfavorable, to say the least. So I'm going to stop the share and then pick it up one more time. This is what she also sent me that they are sending the public. As far as, let me see if I can move it over here a little bit. Health Force Kentucky, transformative education, groundbreaking collaboration, high-tech healthcare. So they're kind of being subtle and vague about it, but they're alluding to the fact that there's new solutions and high-tech things coming out. So again, all of this is a means to slowly wean the public over to where we've been and where we're heading. So med beds, the point of the story is that med beds are very much a real thing, and they are going to come out to the public. I don't have the date. I don't know any of that. I don't have a seat at the table, but I would think that if we're seeing this, we're probably seeing it sooner than later. There was a big thing that President Trump came out with about right to try, and that was legislation for FDA approval of patients who were at their last resort, that all other traditional methods have been exhausted. He gave them opportunity to try different things like, different cannabis solutions, different alternative, practices that might give, when you're on your deathbed, you need every chance you can get. And so through right to try, it expedites the med beds to happen without the FDA having so much oversight to blockade it, because it's not in the old medical world's interest for this to happen, because they're losing their proverbial cash cow. But the point is, med beds are real. They're coming out. They will help people. They can age regression. They can restore limbs and lungs. They can remove autism. They can help with fibromyalgia, with Alzheimer's. Virtually anything is curable with the med beds through this exciting technology. So I'll just leave it at that.
I just have a quick question for you, Jon, if you don't mind me asking, because I'm learning all this too. When this finally does come out, we don't know when, but when it does, is this going to be something that's going to be affordable for everyday people like me? Or is this going to be something that's going to be something for the wealthy to start with and then maybe trickle down to the rest of us? I mean, I know I'm asking you to speculate, but I'm just curious.
No, it's fine. I can tell you what I know. For the public, it will be free because they've already been tested militarily and on the children. So they've ran case studies before they ran to the public. No, the public will, part of the reset that we're going to talk about is funding through the bonds, is funding that for the public to have it. That's one of the benefits of Nesara, is that they will be free to the public. Now, if you want a home med bed, kind of like the one I showed you, I'm sure there'll be a cost. I don't know what it will be, but I think for those people who want a home med bed, they're going to have monies through said reset to be able to do that. And I think it'll be at a fraction of the cost. So, but no, for the average everyday person, it won't be an issue.
Okay, great. It's good news.
I have a question. You said it put this this very sick man, it gave him back 30 years. So I like to fight the good fight, and I'm trying to fight the fight of and stay youthful looking as well. Will that help?
Yes. So in our body, we have something called temular cells. They're like antennae, and that's the receptacle that deals with processing of, energy, stimulus, and ultimately the aging process. Now, with all the crap in the air and in the food and the water and everything, the medications that create more side effects than benefits, that starts to demonize the temular cells and creates cell death. With the med beds, it targets, with respect to age regeneration, it targets the temular cells, feeds the cells back to their original condition. There was, I had tried to find the document. I'm sorry, folks, I wasn't able to do so, but there was a document out there. My mentor, Don Ward, had told me about a couple of years ago, New England Journal of Medicine, which is a widely known publication, respect them or otherwise, people know who they are. They did a private case study. I think you had to buy a membership or something to get the document, of course, but they did a case study. They took an 80-year-old woman out of a nursing home and they put her into a med bed, and I don't know how long it took, whether it was an hour, 30 minutes, I don't know. Obviously, I wasn't there. But within a short period of time, it regenerated her organs, her stem her cell walls, everything, and it brought her back to the age of 30 where she could have children again. So this does actually reverse age considerably. And so this isn't to get people excited or fall, and it really does do that. How they're going to roll it out, I don't know. I think it's going to be something like what I showed you, where they're going to kind of wean it out. I know that there are some places in Texas and Florida that already have them. Overseas in Germany and the Netherlands, I know they've been, I think Sweden also, they've spotted some. There's a coordinated effort, and that's above my pay grade. But yes, it will definitely help with age regression.
Wow, that's exciting. Yes, I love it. Thank you for sharing that.
No problem. I said I was going to talk about the med bed, so let's start with that.
Oh, that's right.
We do have an update, so I'm not evading your question. I just want to cover that. So let me know if you both can see, or when you can see this. You should see it momentarily.
Yes.
So we have an update from my friend Jerry, the Marine. That's his code name. Anybody who's in the military knows what that's about, having code names. He has direct relationships with Walter Reed. We talked about that on our last podcast. And so I asked him for today, hey, do you have any updates on when we're going to be in a med bed? And what he told us is that the med beds are going to be starting in military hospitals to begin with, like Walter Reed and many, many others across the country and the whole world, depending where you live and are watching this. Excuse me. And then President Trump, basically, there was a lot of med beds out in these hallways, so they confiscated them from the bad guys, so the bad guys couldn't get a hold of them and manipulate them and hijack them. So he's got them quarantined. They're already in a lot of commercial hospitals throughout the country that the public would go to, but they're in back rooms being preserved. The military is waiting for President Trump as the commander-in-chief, now becoming president-elect again, to give the signal for the public. So we will start in military centers, hospitals, then migrate over to actual commercial hospitals grades, and they will replace the other technology. I'm told sometime first quarter of next year to be conservative. Could be sooner, but I'm going to go under promise and over deliver, say the first quarter next year to be safe. The picture is to symbolize what I have been told the med beds actually look like. You can see the chamber. It's very wide and very deep. It's mostly comprising of silver. You can see these glass encasements. So when they enclose on the individual, they're high and deep. So they use light and frequency therapy that helps with antibacterial properties. And they also help for anti-claustrophobic, because I get claustrophobic being tall in small spaces. I'm sure some others do as well. So they've thoughtfully engineered these med beds with that in mind to mitigate that. So they'll be high and deep so that pretty much anybody of any height or weight can get in them without any constriction issues. And I want to correct the statement that I said in the last one. When I was talking about the cells that control your aging, it is in fact telomeres. So I want to correct that. So this is what we have been told is an accurate depiction of what they look like. No, it's not just sci-fi. Somebody said, yes, they showed them in the movie Elysium in 2012 with Chris Evans and all that, but that's because it's predictive programming to what they actually are.